Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Some people have been asking, are people like Chivhayo, with all the cars he's giving away, a blessing to the nation or a curse? The truth of the matter is, corruption is a cancer. And the fact that sometimes it's brought about by taking sugar-coated pills makes it only the worse. Because people fail to react, to realize the seriousness of the problem. I would like to start this discussion with a video clip of Dr. Simba Makoni explaining some of the origins of corruption in Zimbabwe.
What has surprised me, as we all can see, is how what you call the new dispensation, to what extent they can go to secure their power. Mugabe didn't put soldiers on the streets at all. He didn't put soldiers with live automatic rifle ammunition among the people. This dispensation doesn't hesitate to do that at all. So that is different.
And to your point, which
different, worse.
To your point, which I was going to miss, which is fundamentally important, is that this was not about the people.
Yeah.
This was about them securing power for themselves.
Exactly.
And what comes with that.
The Virgin Media Black Friday sale is here with our entertainment bundle.
Sorry about that.
Concentration of power, but also continued contestation. Because wresting of power from the G40, as they put it, didn't secure power among themselves. Because the contest continues right now. Factions have not ended. But also because power is a means to an end. What is the end? Accumulation.
6 kgs of gold.
Exactly. Exactly.
So we've touched, Simba, on the issue of who we have become, the corruption. And the question I want to ask you is, when did we become so attached to material things, like cars? Many cars for ministers, big houses, the big convoy that the president and everybody else has. Where did that come from? Is that who we've always been?
I would say yes, Trevor. I recall very clearly that when we came into office in 1980, we inherited Ian Smith's systems. And Ian Smith's ministers drove Peugeot 504s. They drove themselves from home to work in their Land Rovers and all in kinds. Most of them were farmers. They parked their Land Rover and then they used the government vehicle when they were at work with a chauffeur. When they finished at night, they packed them and they took theirs to go home. Within the month of our coming into office, Prime Minister Mugabe then directed that every minister be issued with an E-Class Mercedes-Benz. And the Peugeot 504s were retired to permanent secretaries, and the deputy ministers then took over. We can also look at many other things, small they may appear at the time. Let me hazard that even at that point, Enos Nkala was our Minister of Finance. I don't think we knew what budget we inherited from Ian Smith when the decision was taken to buy those E-class fleets for the ministers. So the material affection for material things has always been with us. And the differentiation also, even going back into the camps, Shefu, my comrades Makada were not the same. So much so that even today, when the so-called Minister for Presidential Affairs or Provincial Governor, as they were, goes to Bubi or Binga, they will be served separately and differently from the other people. The avarice grew as we began to exploit the opportunities of office. When I was in the government, the minister was allocated one vehicle that they kept, which was the sedan they used in town. If you needed to go off-road, then your ministry hired off-road vehicles from the CMED, and you were charged for it. Now a minister will have an average of 4 vehicles in his forecourt, all at government's expense.
So the leadership modeled the wrong kind of behavior, and that kind of behavior permeated all across our society. Our CEOs, like you're saying, heads of parastatals and so forth, modeled from the top.
Indeed.
Ben, you have heard it. There is the genesis of our failed political system.
Good day to you and good day to everybody. Let's just. I'm not going to take you all the way back to 1980, but let's go. The new dispensation when ED had successfully toppled Mugabe using the military coup. The first thing was Zimbabwe is open for business. And everybody got excited, and he himself, ED, took up advisors. Guys like, brilliant minds like Trevor, I forgot the guy who wrote his autobiography. He surrounded himself. Sorry?
Eddie Cross.
Yes, Eddie Cross as advisors. And people, said, hold on a minute. This guy here seems to be going somewhere. Is associating himself with minds maybe far better than his. Lo and behold, we went through an election, and soon after election, he dumped all those. And then here we go. He picked up the likes of Chivhayo, Hubert Angel as his ambassador. And shortly after that, we had the Gold Mafia documentary. We have had scandal after scandal. This is what ZANU-PF is all about. So it really shouldn't have been a surprise. I'm surprised that people are shocked at how ED has gone about his presidential terms. It's always been from the very beginning. It is the ZANU-PF way of doing things. They are criminals, corrupt. So really, it's discouraging when you see brilliant minds now having to come and sit down and ask the obvious. Some of us knew from the very beginning that, this guy here, he was one of the chief culprits. he was a known, member of a criminal organization, and to expect him to change overnight, or just because he crossed the border running and he came back, is pretty naive.
I think one of the other aspects about corruption that some people are failing to appreciate here, as I mentioned at the beginning, is to fail to see the reality behind the generosity of some of these corrupt individuals. Many Zimbabweans, they have cheered and applauded the generosity of the likes of Chivhayo and Takwirei and others. But when you look at it more closely, you've got to realize that what these guys are giving away is only a tiny fraction of what they've stolen from us as the taxpayers. Chivhayo, we have said on this platform that he was given a contract, I think it was what, $5 million US, to procure and build this solar panel power generation plant for Gwanda. It was going to be connected to the grid, ZESA. That's a ZESA project. He has failed to build that plant. Within weeks of winning that contract, he was showing off 300 pairs of shoes and the whole table full of US dollars, flouting his wealth. Power cuts has been one of the problems, teething problems of Zimbabwe. That power, probably, if he had built that substation, it would have supplied Gwanda, even if it's not connected to the rest of the grid. You've got to think of what economic benefits that would have brought to Gwanda. And yet that benefit was forfeited because he took the money and walked away. So when he comes back tomorrow and gives away a present of a car, Rolls-Royce, Mercedes-Benz, whatever, expensive cars, to one or two individuals, people are impressed. You've got to ask yourself, where did he get that money? Will the people of Gwanda be flattered to hear that the money that should have been to build a substation for them so that their hospital will have electrical power supplies, the town itself, the people themselves will have electricity in their homes, their industries will have power, and the amount of wealth that would have generated for that whole town would have been a lot more than this one single Mercedes-Benz that has been given away. That is what people are failing to understand here. When you're talking of corruption, the individual, the weakness Chivhayo of this world, and of course their handlers, the politicians, are sharing between them 95% of the wealth. And at best, the ordinary people, you get the benefit of that wealth in terms of percentage, is probably 5%. That is what we are looking at here. It is a pity that some people have failed to see that reality.
The Gwanda solar project is only but the a speck in the whole mafia operation. I mean, look, their own Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission says that we are losing $2 billion annually to corruption. And I think that is an understatement, because if you go to the Gold Mafia documentary, it says we are losing 2 billion of gold only annually. We're not talking about lithium, we're not talking about platinum and diamonds and so forth. That's a huge figure. We cannot play down that amount of money that is being siphoned by these guys. And I am surprised how Zimbabweans you know going about thanking Chivhayo for donating 10 ambulances, thanking him for giving their favorite musicians a car or something like that. What you are losing is not even 10, it's more than that. So him acting as if it's a charity, or we're a charity case when they are stealing way more. I mean, the Gwanda project, that was just 5 million. Take it. It's okay. You don't have to do absolutely anything. And he walked away with it. That is just a small part. During the elections, he went through, with these procurements, prices 20 times higher than, the cheapest product you could get. And that was okay. No investigation by Zach, but yet the South African government raised, banking system raised flags to say, guys, there's some serious illegal transactions that are happening here. Up to today, Zimbabwe has said nothing about it. So it goes back again to the Gold Mafia documentary. And in that Gold Mafia documentary, the key words that were used was, as long as number one is greased, there will be no problem. Just make sure you have the support of number one and everything is okay. This is why you find the Chivhayos, you would probably think he's the vice president because he's always next to number one. He's greasing it. And you can, the president himself is surrounding himself with thieves. We are not assuming, we are seeing it. Unlike Mugabe, where we said we had to chase him because he was surrounded with criminals. This one, we see it. The ordinary person sees it. It's unfortunate that some people out there are still so naive to be saying, Sapatina, and all that nonsense, thanking Chivhayo for stealing them blind and giving them 2 pennies as a token of appreciation, which to me just shows how naive and gullible some people are. And unfortunately, we've got a lot, millions in fact, of people that are like that.
The one aspect that I really would like people to pay attention to about corruption is that, as I said earlier on, the corruption is benefiting those, like in this case here, they called Mafia, people doing the running around, and their handlers. By 90% of the wealth goes to them. And then the balance goes to the ordinary people. And some of it is then used to sweeten and make people feel that corruption is not a bad thing. But the important thing that I would like to emphasize here is that the corruption has made those in positions of power and authority incredibly rich. In the Gold Mafia documentary, which is there on the screen, this individual, Patni, he gives detail of how he helped Kenya's president at the time, Arap Moi, stay in power. The money from the looting that he was carrying out was used to bankroll Arap Moi's vote rigging machinery and to bribe various key players in the politics, including the opposition leaders. And in the documentary, they talk about how Patni's activities undermined Kenya's economy by as much as 10% of the nation's GDP. Kenya is an incredibly big country with a lot of money. So 10% of Kenya's GDP is a lot of money. And that part of that wealth is what kept Arap Moi in power. And in this documentary, Patni talks about how many other presidents in Africa he has worked with, including our own Robert Mugabe, South Africa's Jacob Zuma, and many others. His reputation started to spread in other African countries. They realized that if they want also to stay in power, he is the man to deal with. This pattern is what is behind what we can see today. We've earlier on talked about Chivhayo. If the truth be told, Chivhayo is in good books with not only ZANU-PF leaders, but with many other leaders in Africa. He is seen as somebody who can help grease their vote rigging machineries. Chivhayo we have learned that when VP Chwenga fell out with Chivhayo and other Shikanandas, it was because they no longer worked for him. But when he was bankrolling their political activities, he did not complain. ZANU-PF has become incredibly powerful because of corruption. People can ignore corruption, but we ignore it at our own expense. If there's anything that will stop any meaningful change in the country now, it is corruption. Because ZANU-PF has managed to corrupt literally every institution in the country. From the police, the army, the CIO, the judiciary, and the opposition. Corruption is a serious cancer that we have ignored at our own peril. That is my message to the people of Zimbabwe today. Thank you. Ben, do you want to give your closing remarks?
In closing, I would want to say ZANU-PF has moved its operation not only nationally but has crossed the borders internationally. For leaders that want to secure a power that cannot turn to the likes of Patni and so forth, they now have ZANU-PF as consultants. We are seeing ZANU-PF members, particularly the Chivhayos, towards every election. Chivhayo is going to visit presidents that want work done. That is what my new way of saying rigging the elections internationally. If you want the works done on your behalf to secure power, you call the likes of Chivhayo, and then they will run the entire operation right through to getting the votes done. You are seeing everything that ZANU-PF has been doing internationally. Countries like Tanzania, there was never violence as we are seeing now, but we are seeing what happened in August here in Zimbabwe happening in Tanzania. We are seeing the likes of Chivhayo surrounding these presidents, and shortly after, there is rigging of elections, there is killing of people. Just kill a few, and everything will be okay. Straight out of ZANU-PF's book. ZANU-PF has become like a cancer, as you say, and their rot is taking over the whole of Africa. All those places. Yesterday you showed a map that, of countries that are not, democratic. And, Africa is a fertile ground for the likes of ZANU-PF, for the likes of Chivhayo, because there are many detectors in there, and they will be very happy if they can get the services of this mafia group. So I would say for Africa, we're in serious trouble. The more we continue to let and to foster the likes of Chivhayo and ZANU-PF companions, we are going to see our continent being dragged under, and we are going to see killings, vote rigging, and all manner of evil against the citizens of Africa. It is time for us to put an end to this nonsense and put our foot down and say, enough is enough. We will not allow countries and presidents to be rigging our votes, because that is where it starts. We will not allow the likes of Chivhayo and them to steal our resources blind. We have to start now for the sake of our children's children. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben. Just to remind the people out there that we are having these discussions every day of the week, Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. UK time, 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time. And over the weekend, starting Saturday and Sundays, we are having an open discussion, and the link is available at the bottom of the screen there. Again, same time, 6 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time. And we're hoping that one of these days you'll be able to join us in the discussion and express your views. Thanks again for joining us, and have a good evening.